The biggest day we've had with sales is 197 orders.
197 orders from, I just want to make one sale a day. Hey, my name is Belinda Carusi and welcome to my show. This podcast was born through my obsession of business, personal development, and my deep desire to living an extraordinary life. I am a small town mama who took used car tires to start my first outdoor boot camp and grew it into a multiple six-figure fitness empire. And now I work from home helping business owners create the business of their dreams. I will take you on an adventure that will open your mind and your heart and truly help you believe in yourself to just do the thing you were born to do. Like I would say in my boot camps, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Welcome to the Belinda Carusi Show. Today I have a very special guest for us. She's actually my claim to fame now. My little sister, Natalie Carusi, the founding director of the new and upcoming iconic brand, Pinky Kamal. I'm so excited to have you, Natalie. It's easy having your sister and bestie as your first podcast guest. So thank you for letting me practice my skills and also interview you to inspire all of these incredible listeners to know that you can do anything, but you need to not give up to create success. And I want to give people an insight that success isn't overnight with your story, because it is very powerful and life-changing, and it's been life-changing to watch. So, yes, welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here as your first guest and see you do this. It's amazing.
So Nat and I was actually just watching a workshop. Natalie's the more creative, more introverted sister, and I am creative in a different way and more extroverted sister. So you're going to feel that in our interview as well. But I'm so excited to really share more about you and what it is we're doing. So we are sisters. We were both brought up in a house that was the first generation Italian. So for those that don't know, Carusi is an Italian last name. Both our mum and dad were both Italian. We were brought up in a very Anglo-Saxon kind of area as well. So we were kind of always a little bit, not misfits in a way, but we kind of were. There are so many annoying things about each other because we were brought up in a very loud household. So I thought that people could get to know what it was like to grow up with both of us and how we are both in business together alongside each other, which is really cool. So firstly, let's start out, Natalie. The question that I'd like you to answer is, which I think people would love, and a lot of people know that I have annoying habits, but what's your favourite thing about me, Nat? No, I'm kidding. What's the most annoying thing about me that you want to share your listeners?
Okay. It's a funny one because I feel like it's also the thing that I love about you too, but it's a bit of your sometimes you just get so intense and so passionate and so in the moment, and I might be potentially just driving to pick Bobby up from childcare, super drained from the day, and you're just going at me. But it's funny and I love it, and I absolutely wouldn't change a thing, but it sometimes can
Are these
annoying.
The points when I ring you with my epic business ideas and you're like, I don't need another one, Belinda?
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of that for sure.
And I get that. I sometimes can come across too full on when I am very excited, but I do pull you out of your shit sometimes with this passion too. So it is a good. But yes, thank you for that. I'll tell you your most annoying habit because I couldn't wait to tell you this one. Natalie is the biggest dork you've ever probably met. So even though she's the biggest fashionista, she's so gorgeous and she looks the part. She's the dorkiest mum you've ever met in a great way. And I'm probably going to bring this up for the rest of my life, but this is the type of thing Natalie would do. Christmas all those years ago. Not only is she a dork, she's a massive klutz. And this one Christmas, I was so dramatic, and I was probably 13 or 14. She knocked literally, I think, lemonade all over the entire Christmas table, and it literally was like the worst day of my life.
I think I did it like 3 times though that day.
Oh, I was just like, how is this actually happening? So yeah, that's a little bit of insight that you may not know behind the fashionista of Natalie Carusi.
I'm definitely a klutz.
Let's dive into it. Let's talk about how you got into this business. What created the idea in the first place? Because so many people, if they haven't seen the brand, it's more of a lifestyle, fitness, Pilates, yoga, leisure wear. So a lot of Natalie's items you can wear just, with a nice, some sneakers down to the coffee shop just as a casual outfit, but then go to your Pilates or yoga session or even your weight session looking like a total babe. For me, I started in the fitness industry. The only kind of exercise wear that I would ever use was Nike. And Natalie knew that too because we grew up very sporty. So I'd love people to know how it all began. Where did the idea come from?
The idea, I guess I was quite inspired at the time. I was like 23 years old, I think about 23, and I'd been traveling and just traveling and working in hospitality on and off. I'd done a fashion degree, but I just was more interested in traveling and seeing the world and doing all the things a young in a 20s girl would do, which is also included partying, hanging out with friends. But there was a part of me at that time that I guess felt a little bit lost after all the traveling. And I was looking around at some people in my life, particularly like you, Belinda. You really, I guess, inspired me. And you were actually the one that was like, why don't you do one of your passionate things? Why don't you just start your own business? Like, imagine this, that, and everything else. She's like, look at me, I've got my business. I'm like, oh. And you were, as you spoke in your first podcast, you were doing all the self-help and all the seminars. I think you invited me along to one, and it was a Grace Lever one. And I think that's sort of where the idea sparked. At that time, I guess I just started discovering yoga, and I was really like diving deep into a Ashtanga yoga practice. And I thought at that time, this was like 8 years ago now, so there was really not that much out there except your big brands, which I felt very generic and very the same, and I actually just ugly. Like, I really didn't love what they were bringing out. And I thought, particularly for yoga, there really wasn't much out there. Even like at that time, it was like super hippie stuff. Like, there was no in between. So I had the idea at this workshop. It just popped into my head like a ping, and it was just to start a brand and do specific for yoga wear, but do unisex, because I felt like there wasn't anything at the time for like a loose pants. And that's where it started. That was basically the starting point. And from there, it's been about 8 years, and that 8 years has been the most transformative years of my life, I'm sure. And the things that I've learned along the way and the person that I've become into the shaping of the business has just been massive. But I guess where the business is now is really exciting, because it's sort of all come together now into something that I'm very proud of, which is we do like activewear, leisure wear and lifestyle wear. We have a strong interest in sustainability, and that's something that we really, really care about and are going to be continuing to work towards as we grow. And we also have a really strong interest and desire to be more than an active brand. and to position ourselves as more of a fashion forward brand that you can wear, as lifestyle things. So throughout your whole day, and you feel really awesome and you feel really cool wearing it.
This episode is sponsored by Pinky and Kamal, who create active leisure and lifewear designed to move with you through your active and leisure endeavors. They specialize in creating fashion-forward styles that transcend beyond the studio and into the street. Feel amazing in your PK pieces and feel even more amazing with 15% off your next order by using Belinda as your discount code. You're welcome. Happy shopping. I love you. It's so exciting to hear this. So something I brought up in my last podcast, and I want to talk into this because you basically did point this out. So now I'm not everyone's going to have a big sister that's into personal development and have their own business and is like so inspired about creating their dream life. But I think what helped you create this idea was seeing other people do it. And seeing other people around you like just do the thing and then for it to actually pay off, and then putting yourself in a situation where a lot of my friends, when I used to invite them to seminars, they would always say no because I think I'm so weird, but you actually showed up as well. So I would say as an informative piece for someone that's watching this podcast or listening to it, you know, get yourself around people. If you do want to build belief that you can create your own business, it's actually really trying to be around people or listening to books of people that have created their own business so you can see that it actually wasn't, number one, it wasn't easy for them. You saw the back end. You didn't just see the front end of me. You saw the back end of me having meltdowns, of me working like fucking every single day, working from 4 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. So you kind of knew what it took, but then you start to see myself scale back to go, oh, okay, I could do this. And then when you then went to this seminar to realize that, like, ask yourself questions that came in. So I'm leading this into, do you feel that was a huge part of this? And would you say to upcoming designers, like what would you say to them to try and feel into what they're meant to come through? Because like you said, it was a ping. It wasn't just, you would like, it was just like all of a sudden it just came in because you had that intention.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's been one of the biggest things of this whole like business journey, which is that whole other side of growth, which is you being surrounded by people that have done things like this. And in the time, like at that time, you were basically the only person I really knew that had done something like that. So I didn't have people around me that were doing their own businesses. Like everyone was either at uni or just in another job, like 9-to-5 job. So a huge part was definitely you and your inspiration and just your drive, I think, very infectious. And then another huge part of it was actually just going and doing the work every single day, listening to audiobooks. Like that was my main thing. I would go for a walk every single day and listen to an audiobook of business or self-help or along those lines. And I honestly, through listening to all of those books, and that has been like extremely pivotal because you say surround yourself with people. I didn't have the people, but I had my audiobooks and I had some courses that I did, but I wasn't like, they were like, I was thinking when I was pregnant, Bobby, my baby, is going to know the voice of one of my massive.
Who was it?
Sorry, I've had a blank. I had to pause. Who's my girl? What's her name?
Amanda Francis?
No, not Amanda Francis. The other one. Lacey Phillips. Okay, so starting here.
Who was one of the major, who was one of the major people that you listened to that really inspired you?
There were so many people, but I remember being pregnant and driving to my job just that I absolutely hated at the time, thinking, because I obviously throughout like 6 years of the business, I was working other jobs. And I was thinking, Bobby, or my baby to be, is going to know the voice of Lacey Phillips more than anyone else, because I listened to it so much. And yeah, I think when people say surround yourself with people, I believe it is so much. But if you don't have those people around you, and you might be an introvert, as you said, like me, and you don't necessarily love going out and introducing yourself to people, find the audiobooks or find something that makes you feel connected, because they were the people I was actually spending most of my time with. Like, I would work and then I would go for a walk and I would listen to them at least like 1 to 2 hours a day, as opposed to talking to friends on the phone for 1 to 2 hours a day. So they were my main communication, like people I was connecting with throughout the years. And that really transformed my life.
It is. It's people start businesses like thinking they need to know, like, I need to have this certification and I need to have that certification. I need to figure out X, Y, or Z. It's like I keep drumming down, it's personal development first. It is like it cannot start without you learning how to believe in yourself, trust yourself, love yourself, and desire what it is that we're here for. Like, everyone, like, I know I'm so annoying about this to some people, but I'm like, no, like, people sometimes get intimidated by my big dreams but I'm like, no, but why wouldn't you have big dreams? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the actual point? So I love this. Can you just give me one of the books? Like, do you remember one of the books at all, like from your first beginnings? And I'll link it.
Yeah. One person that I highly recommend, and that really, well, there's a few people that have really changed it for me, but the first one was Joe Vitale. Do you know Joe Vitale? He's in The Secret. Like, he's one of the people in The Secret, but he has several books that resonated so much with me, and I listened to them like over and over again because they were just so powerful, and he's on the money.
Which one was it? What's it called?
About. He has The Secret to Attracting Money. And I think, like, a lot of these things about money and attracting money, it's like not just, as you were saying in your other podcast, not just about like having money, it's about everything that sort of comes along with it, but also all the limiting beliefs that you have behind, or like your patterns. I think I've found extremely fascinating to look at within myself. But The Secret to Attracting Money and the Attractive Factor were two of my favourites.
I'm gonna read that, but I just want to quickly pull what you said from that. So when you were talking about limiting beliefs about money, so even the fact that you brought up, like, oh, it's not just about money, like how much we're conditioned to not even, you don't do that because you want money. It's like, well, actually, you do it because you love it, but you're not going to love it if you're not making money. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
But also, we were brought up, like I said, first generation Australian. Our grandparents were immigrants into Australia in a time that was very racist, and a lot of Australians didn't like Italians at all. And we grew up in a very scarce culture. Our family come into, like, our Italian, both sides were both Italian, and they came from very poor upbringings, and they worked their absolute ring off to even give us a middle class. We don't necessarily have to worry about money because they did set themselves up financially, as in for the future. It's not accessible for us now. Like, we might get a couple $100,000 or something like that maybe one day, but it's not like we're rich, we're far from it. But as well, I think the mindset that was drummed into us was like, you've got to work hard. And for us, especially, there was a lot of a lack mentality because our family were always fighting about money. Money was always a scared, like it was always a frustrating subject. I remember growing up, I don't know if it's the same for you, but, you know, I remember Nonno and Dad and Uncle Mario, which are our, you know, that's our family, were always fighting about money. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I think for us to be able to really have, because we started to say that money is not just stressful. Like you can have money and it doesn't need to be stressful.
Yeah.
And in order for us to want money, because we were scared of money because of the way that it was treated in our family, for us to want money, we had to clear a lot of this to be able to do the work that we're here for. And if you didn't have money or make money in your business, you wouldn't be able to create this lifestyle wear business and inspire people to use their expression of wearing beautiful clothing. Like I remember you said to me, Belinda, let's go out. I'm going to give you all these brands. I want you to go into their stores and tell me what it feels like. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like feeling and dressing a certain way when you get me to dress certain ways. I was like, I have been like, because I was so busy in my business and I was literally just wearing activewear, I didn't care what it looked like. I was just getting out of bed, going to my business. I had this level of expression of myself I kind of laid to the wayside. And the fact that you're creating a business that allows people to feel so freaking good wearing your clothes, like there's so much in there. It rises your vibration in such a way that you don't even realize. And the material things too, we've always been pushed, don't want the material things. Well, sometimes the material things can make a massive difference to who you show up as every single day as well.
Yeah.
So in saying all of that about the blocks, what was a major one that you had to clear to be able to really actually start? Because my business was different to yours. You actually had to invest money up front. I just had to really give my time. So I'd love to know what you had to overcome to actually do it. Like what was the story and then what is the story now type thing?
I think the main two would be exactly what you said about money. I always was very lack about money. I thought, people with money were sort of spoilt, or like I had that honed in. That was definitely a belief of mine. Or just mean. That was a belief. And then a lot of self-worth. Like, can I actually do this? Is it good enough? Those two probably were the biggest ones. And then looking into, I guess, as I began to take that journey of self-development, I started to, I guess if you do start listening to the books, they do, like you start to take notice of your internal dialogue and your thoughts and how you're speaking to yourself, how you're speaking to others, your reactions on things. And from there, just, really noticing where I was at and what I needed to do to change. And that was like a very difficult process because you don't really take notice of it if you're sort of unconscious to it. Like even just things that you might say to yourself, or, you might put yourself down, just say, like, okay, example, every time I launched a new collection, I would basically call you and like have a breakdown. And I would call Mum and I would just cry and cry and cry. Be like, nobody likes it. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? I need to quit. Like, this is so stupid. I can't. I'm going to give it one more shot. I used to say that all the time. I'm just going to do one more thing, like one more collection. And then if it doesn't work, I'm quitting. And I was just so, I was just so hard on myself. And I think that's a huge thing that I've worked through over the past 8 years with this business, is like bringing it back to me and making sure I'm first, I guess, out of anything.
It's been such an honor to be by your side this whole time, Nat. It's just been so cool. And to really pull you out of the trenches at times to be like, you're not fucking quitting. And the thing is as well is that when you feel so flat and low, you feel that things come into your law of attraction. So it's like, oh, you know, because your business started taking off when you had Bobby. And I didn't even say that you're a mum too. You're a mum of a beautiful little boy, which is only a couple of months younger than my little boy, and he was born on Mother's Day. Like, how incredible. Bobby was born on Mother's Day. Like, Natalie's first Mother's Day, he was born. So it was just beautiful. But I remember one time, like, you had Bobby, and you're worried that, like, you had the time off really to look after Bobby, and it was in the middle of COVID, and you're like, Jamie doesn't want me to do this, which is your partner. And it's like, does he? Does he not want you to do this? Or is this just the pressure you're putting on yourself because you're scared that you're not going to succeed? And it's just always been these things that keep coming up to help you dig in and be like, no, like, this isn't just a side project. Like, you knew you were here for great things. Like, so, you know, and I think from everyone coming through, like, if you have unresolved emotions, so if you're constantly feeling not enough, or what you're providing isn't enough for your family, or your external world will reflect that to you. And that was happening for you at that time. You were feeling like, oh my gosh. So what was the shift that helped you overcome that as well? Because that's when your business freaking turned a corner, baby.
I think when I found out I was pregnant, I was basically like, this is it. Like, I've done this for 4 years now, and the first 4 to 5, 6 years was slow. When it was like up, down, down. Like, I'd take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 7 steps forward, 2 steps back. Like, it was. And
you weren't really taking the business. You didn't really take it seriously.
I didn't have the self-belief that I could just go out and do it, because I wasn't making the sales yet, and I was taking it really slow. And I said to myself at the start, it's going to take me 7 years. I said it's going to take me 7 years, and it has taken me like nearly 7 years, probably a bit less, but it's like I planted that seed, and it's wild and I really believe that your inner thoughts are just a complete, like, they will manifest into something that, whether you're, if you're going through a hard time, things may get harder. So you need to change your mindset. Like, you drastically need to change your mindset if you're going through something similar to what I was. So as I was going through the self-help books and things like that, I came across someone who was into manifesting, and I was like, I need to manifest this. This is like so into manifestation, and it just felt like that's what I needed to do. So I got her name's Lacey Phillips, by the way, which we just spoke of. But at the time I was pregnant, that's when I was doing that heavy work, and it was even towards the end, and we'd go through like little things, and I would start realizing things about myself and seeing where those past behaviors were coming from, and like clicking together. And then from there, once you sort of realize and understand how you get those self-limiting beliefs, it's easy to work through and move through them. And it's almost like that block is a bit more cleared. Mm-hmm. So I think I knew there's the craziest thing at the time of pregnancy and coming through to birth, like birthing a child, is that like our brains actually change. Like our brains clear out old and make way for new information, because we need to store all this new information about how to be a mum. And I just think at that time I was so invested in changing my beliefs, changing my thought patterns, that it sort of all worked together, that these old beliefs just had no room anymore. Like it was not going to happen. And I think I had a strong desire for my son as well, just to make sure I'm not doing this anymore as a joke. Like this is no joke. Like I am going to give it everything now. I mean, and yeah. So I think that whole, and then crazily enough, I was working a hospitality job at the time, but COVID hit and everyone in hospitality got let off. So I was able to get on the job seeker payment the last 3 months of my pregnancy. And I was like, this is great. Now I've got I can get paid for just like, because I wasn't paying myself at the time. I'm going to get paid for working, and I'm just going to smash it out, and then that sort of, those 3 months before birth helped me have that time and that space to then build and build and build. And then from there, yeah, it began to grow and build momentum. But I think it did when I started to change my thought patterns.
100%. And it's so powerful. Like, it was so funny because I was going through the opposite, where I was like, I need to change my life in a different way as well, more of a lifestyle business. I need to. And then for you, the start of COVID was probably the best thing. For me, the start of COVID was probably the worst but best thing that happened to me as well. So this is huge, guys. Listen to Natalie. Like, she and I come from the same place. We did not have working mum examples either. We didn't have we grew up with a beautiful mother that was so devoted to being our mum. She is the best, but she had a lot of limiting beliefs that we've had to freaking work through, and to this day. And what's so amazing is she's so open to all the stuff that we have to teach her now, and watching her transformation too. And when you're talking about Bobby, I was saying this the other day to Nat, we grew up poor. Like, if you look back generation upon generation and how the women were treated, like, we're the first generation that are completely radically changing. We're changing our bloodline in generational wealth and mindset. And it's so powerful. Like, you don't realize, like, not just you, but people don't realize the impact that you're going to have on the next generation. Like, our grandfather, and this has been a lot of my inspiration, I don't know if you pull a lot of this inspiration, but my nonno, your nonno, he came to Australia by himself. He's the youngest. He sponsored his brother to come over to Australia, his dad to come over to Australia. He built up a property portfolio. He worked and created a baseline for us to feel at least stable, that we can go and live out our dreams. And there are so many people that come from, a base level of stability. And I think that it's our opportunity, and it should be kind of the thing that we do, is to build on that, to create even more stability for our family. And I feel that both of us are on that trajectory, and it's actually really inspiring and exciting. So high five to both of us. But I wanted to go into, so many people, like, number one, don't know how to pronounce the name, Pinky and Kamal or Kamal. What are some of the ways that people have pronounced it too?
Definitely Pinky and Camel is one. I'm like, yep, that's fine. It's a tricky one. It's a name. I just came up with it when I was, 23 or even younger. So
tell the story, Natalie, when we went away.
Well, we went when I was traveling. I was traveling around India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And Belinda actually came to our Bangladesh trip because we went over there with a friend who knew of a man who ran a little school in like a remote community, and we raised money at Belinda's gym and we brought it over to them. And his name was Kamal and his wife was called Pinky. And at the time, I don't think I even had the business idea, but I was obsessed with their name. And I remember writing it in my journal and just thinking this is such a cool business name. But that's actually the story, which is very funny and doesn't really have anything to do with active or leisure.
Well, I think that I remember us being in Bangladesh and and that's kind of where it was just after that India trip that you started really loving yoga as well. And I think that's probably where it all sparked, which was really cool.
Definitely.
Is there any story, like anything else with your story in general, from starting to finishing, or to now, because you're definitely not finished, that you want to share?
I think one thing personally for me was a learning on the job sort of business. Like I was just figuring it out as I went, and I didn't know so many things, and obviously through time you learn and you adapt and you pick up and you figure out what's working and what's not. But as we've spoken about just throughout this whole time, like it was almost like as much as a business journey as a healing and self-development journey as well, which I think they really went hand in hand. And I think if anyone's having or thinking of starting a business or having any blocks, I think it would be so great to invest some time into listening to some books from people that have done incredible things, and that may potentially inspire you or help you along the way.
Yeah, and I would say the exact same thing. So in saying all of this, like you have said it hasn't been easy, just for some people to realise, like, it's taken you 7 to 8 years to get this business off the ground, right? Yeah. Not many people would hold that long. And I think one of the major reasons, though, some of it was that you did press in that it was going to take 7 years. It probably could have been a lot quicker. But in the same time, this was your journey and it was all meant to happen. It's all in perfect divine order.
Yeah.
But I do want to say it is a long journey. It's not an overnight thing, especially for everything that you've learned. So how many times have you wanted to quit, really?
Honestly, I wouldn't even be able to tell you, but it would be it would be over 10,000 plus probably times that I would want to quit. You even have those moments to, like, in your business sometimes I have it, would it just be easier if I just I don't know, just stop working?
Sometimes would it just be easy just to get a job and just do something you hate, basically?
Yeah, sometimes I do think, like, would it just be easier to work for someone and do a bit more of a 9 to 5 and have that, not much responsibility. And yeah, at the start, like, as I said, I was just like breaking down to mum. Like, I would have multiple rock bottom breakdown moments where I'd be like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so hard. And then, yeah, so it was very painful. I remember at the start, my heart felt like it was breaking. Like, I would get a collection in and the crotch of the pants wouldn't be wrong. And I know that sounds like, oh my God, it's that. But I was working and putting all my money into it. So, like, I wasn't able to save for a house or save to go overseas. Like, when I started working, like, when I was working the other jobs, I was putting all my money into it. So it wasn't really fully able to live too much. Like, I was being very stingy and very frugal with my money and putting all of it back in. So when something went wrong, it really dug deep because I was like, this is so fucked because I've put everything into it and it's wrong again. And as you can see, that mindset there is just not great. Like, not that. It's just a bit of a loop. It's a loop. Yeah.
But the grind. But the grind
was
that we grew up in.
The grind was hard. But one thing that I did, like, I think what kept me going was I felt something within me that was like, no, this is what you're meant to do. Like, you have to do it. You just have to keep going. And then I'd also do little things like the next one. If it doesn't work the next time, if it doesn't work, and then before you know it, it's like 6 years. So I think I read a lot and just talked to a lot of people who were just like, just keep going. Resilience is the main thing. Like, I took on a lot of people's feedback, and I really took it on board. And
like
I
good people.
Good people's feedback. And
not that there's bad people, but it was like you ended up getting yourself like quite a few mentors. So you really did surround yourself with.
Yeah, I did.
You know, you had that one lady that basically mentored you for free. Like, you can find mentors. Like,
yeah,
if you want something, this is to the listeners, and you know this as well, is like, it will show up. All the help will be there. Sometimes there's an investment that you make to actually energetically transform yourself, because, and I think for you, your energetic transformation was like, this is all my energy. I've just worked all this time and I'm now going to invest that into my business, and I'm going to give it all away with the hope and wish that this is going to double when it comes back. And other people may just need to invest in a coach or a mentor, but even that energetic, okay, I'm actually going to be giving my money away, can also trigger a transformational response by just saying yes and actually pulling themselves out. So yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, actually on that, I have had a few mentors over the period, and they have come through at different stages of the business, but that was actually a massive help and a massive game changer, especially when I was still really fresh and really early, just to have that person to help push me through and to know that I can talk to them about my whole business, and that's what they're there for, listening to me, and they're giving me customized personal advice, which is extremely, that was massive for me. Yeah.
So good. So incredible. So I also want to kind of give people an insight with how it did start your business too. Like you just started at markets as well. Like, it wasn't that you had an online store. I'd love you to share like that process, as well as how you went from being on markets to now being fully online and having retailers around Australia, which is epic.
Well, markets is, if you are starting a product-based business, they are so great if you're starting out. And I've had a few friends that have also started something small and they started out at markets. If you've got some good markets in the area, they are so good, and they were so helpful because they helped me when I didn't have the traffic on the website yet, and I was still building up my socials, and I hadn't invested in the Facebook ads yet. That helped me get income in. And someday, and not only that, you get to hear real time about what people think of your product. Just being drawn to it, what has drawn them to your product. I think it's so invaluable. And I think starting out at a market is one of the best things you can do, because you actually get to talk to people about it, and they might not be talking to you, but they're talking to their friends, and you can hear it even when they're trying the product on. It will help you with design and what products are working best, and then from there you can probably then I guess I moved more in and had a bit more confidence in what people were liking, and then started to invest more into the website and the ads side of thing as well.
And you actually started running your own ads for a bit as well. Ben helped you a little bit at the start, my husband.
Yeah, I was definitely attempting to run the ads. And I think there's so much in ads itself. It wasn't my forte, and I'm definitely more of a creative brain. So I think, but if you can run your ads, and there are some incredible courses out there as well, if you want to save some money and not get an agency first. There's also some freelancers out there that could give you quite a good rate as well. But it is great to at least have a knowing into running ads or what is involved in them, because even if you do get an agency, you want to know what they're talking about.
100%. And I think that's the big thing. It's like delegation is great, but you don't want to delegate something you don't really know anything about, so that you give the power of that aspect away to somebody else. And that's where you kind of can find yourself in a bit of trouble. I remember reading, and I met her a couple of times, what's her name? Boost Juice founder. What's her name again? I don't know. I have gone completely blank. But I remember reading her book, and she was basically saying, like, ask as many questions as possible. Sound as dumb as possible. Who cares? Like, just make sure that you are across everything in your business, because the person that is going to rob you a lot of the time is your accountant or your bookkeeper. If you know, like, don't ever give away all of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what they say. It's like, I'm not saying that your accountant, because I love our accountant because he's the same guy, but it's so important that you hold not control, but you have your finger on each pulse, because as the leader of the company, you've got to know. So I love that you shared that. So I wanted to, so like I said, you've gone from markets to major retailers. We were speaking as well, you know, over the years, and being like, wouldn't it be cool if, like, you know, you were on the Iconic, or you were, you know, in all of these cute boutiques. And I remember us talking about getting you stocked, because ultimately for you to be able to scale your business, you needed to get costs down. So the more quantities that you can order, the better. And we were like, well, wouldn't it be good if we had a couple of retailers, and then you've got your online side too, so you're making all the profit, but you've got, you know, you sent your products cheaper to manufacture, right? And we were talking about, I think, the Iconic years ago as a manifestation. And so they actually outreached to you because that was one of your manifestations. You know, you were like, I want to be featured in the Iconic. So tell me how that felt when they actually sent you an email saying, we want to stock you.
Yeah, it was so exciting, and definitely was something that I'd had on one of my, you know, written on a list somewhere that I would love to have happen. And it was so exciting. I think there's been some moments in the past year that have felt really good, and just really, I guess, proud moments. And just excited. Yeah, just proud and excited, I think, that I've been able to get it to this point.
Yeah. Because I remember probably the start of 2020, you're like, if I can make, how many sales? You're like, if I can make
3 sales, it was probably like 3 sales a day.
If I can make 3 sales a day.
No, maybe it would have been like 10 sales a day. I don't know.
No, I swear to God, it was like, if I can make 1 sale a day, I'll be so happy. Yeah. And now your launches, the first day, can you give us a background how many orders you get and how much money now you're making on like a day? Like, this is just at the start. I mean, you don't have to say the money, but as well, it's pretty inspiring.
I feel like I may have said that like 5 years ago, I think, maybe.
About the
1 sale a day. But that's what I used to have major anxiety looking at my, I would look at my phone like every minute of every day to see if a little ping popped up, like a little cash sign popped up for Shopify, like, have I made a sale? Have I made a sale? Have I made a sale? I literally would wake up in the middle of the night and look at my phone to see if I've made a sale. Like, do you know how exhausting that was? So anyway, I had to stop that. I had to just put a blanket rule and just completely stop that. Probably when I started.
The surrender into the manifestation.
Because that was just killing me. Our best
was it when you started to surrender is that when your results started pushing in?
I think I had to surrender in so many different aspects, in so many different parts at all, like surrendering little parts of myself at different moments has caused an opening somewhere.
That's awesome.
But the biggest day we've had with sales is 197 orders.
That's amazing. 197 orders from, I just want to make one sale a day. And then what about, like, have you counted, like, because I think on the launch I was like, how are you going? She's like, yeah, it's going good. I'm trying to hit, X, Y, and Z. And you're like, oh, by the way, I over surpassed that number as well. So that was epic too. It's been amazing to watch the journey, especially because your journey started ramping up where mine started closing down a bit, where my business, I sold my business and was in the trenches at home with 2 little kids trying to work out who the F I was now and do I have any relevance anymore? Who am I? What am I here for? And I'm just like probably projecting all my shit onto you, being like, you can do this. Let's get it going. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Call me. Don't give up. You're amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing. So I want to quickly go into your manifestation process because I think we've pretty much gone through it, but we've pretty much talked about it. But I'd love just to quickly cement what you've been saying. And if you have someone that's listening that's so inspired, what can they do to start to manifest the life that they truly want? Or how do they activate what they want? Because some people say, I don't even know what life I want.
Yeah, yeah. I think number one is meditate. That's actually my number one. This is something that I've only been really delving into in the past few years, but at this particular moment in time, we need to find space within our minds and bodies to integrate everything we're learning. If we're going to sleep, and we're not stopping, how is anything going to actually have space to even come through? That's been a huge thing for me. Like, you need to stop and you need to create space within your mind to allow the newness to come through and everything that you are trying to manifest to come through. Because if there's no space for it to come through, it may not come through. And within that meditation, it provides like so much inner healing. It's crazy. And it can allow you to resolve and dissolve those blocks or anything that's been limiting. Someone who's incredible to listen to is Dr. Joe Dispenza. His book, or is it Supernatural? One of them is.
I think it's Supernatural.
It explains it.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Extremely scientific way, but also a way that's really easy to digest. I would recommend doing a meditation course and then also delving into his work. But then meditation process, I guess loosely what I would usually do is every 6 months to 1 year, get very inspired in certain periods of my life. Like, I'll have one coming up now after the financial year, just around. I'm going to do a huge mapping out of the next few years, but it's usually every 6 months to a year that I will write down every single thing that I want in my personal business, mental, physical, and then like larger goals. One tip that I could recommend, which is from another amazing author, Amanda Francis, which I think was quite a big game changer, is just say you wanted to earn $80,000. Instead of saying I want to earn $80,000 on XYZ, say $80,000 or more. You always add or above. I would love to live here or somewhere just as beautiful, or just saying and more, because then you're not limiting yourself to that amount. Being specific with particular things that you want is super helpful. And then writing it, you don't have to look at it all the time, just write it. or put it on a mood board, but you don't have to look at it all the time. This is my personal way of doing things. And then I think, you need to make space for it to come in. So even things like decluttering your house, decluttering your wardrobe, getting rid of things that actually make you not feel good. Like, just say there's a few things on your office desk like that make you feel yuck when you're looking at them, get rid of them. Or in your room, like, create space in the area you live and the area you work as well, I think is a big one.
Mm-hmm. No, these are really amazing tips.
Okay, and I've got one more thing which I think is like a big one for me is physical movement. I think that can open up a lot as well. So getting rid of anything that in the body that's blocking you. Another huge thing that I love to do is Kundalini yoga. If anyone's done it before, that's Joe Dispenza actually uses a breathing technique from Kundalini to get your body into a state before meditation. It's not like a intense, crazy one. It's just a breathing technique to help move energy.
I love that. I love that so much because I used to find a lot of the women that started exercising in our gym that their lives would start to manifesting, like they'd just be their life would be better. And a lot of it is because they're moving that dense energy, that stagnant energy, which is so, so important. So I have a couple of more tips, questions, sorry. Number one, so on top of that, you're a working mum, so you're doing all of these things. I'd love to know, because I remember becoming a working mum, like, I had a huge, like, it was really hard for me because all the mums that I did know that were the clients at the gym, or they did work and they had older kids, and I felt like I was surrounded by stay-at-home mums, and then my mum was a stay-at-home mum, and I just had an immense guilt for being a working mum, and I didn't feel like I had much support, and because I was a young mum, it was really hard for me. And not only that, I was very driven, and I felt like I wasn't able to achieve as much as I wanted to being a mum. And I think a lot of that was because of my beliefs being like of like subconscious beliefs. And I think that a lot of driven women or mothers that are listening have struggled with the transition and found it actually a lot harder sometimes than women that literally their soul, and it's such a beautiful goal to be a mother. So it's not like we're dismissing that at all. But for mums that want to do more, how have you done it? Like, how have you, and obviously it's not going to be perfect, but how have you done it to make yourself feel good and achieve?
I think having a support network around you is very important. That for the first 2 years was massive, to have help from my mum and in-laws. So they were giving me space so that I could work on the business. And I think just finding those people that can help support you through, and making sure you have friends or family that you talk to about things. Like, I think I know I struggled with postnatal depression and anxiety throughout this time. So it's just a tricky one. I think trying to find ways to fill your cup up, because sometimes in those early days you can feel so deflated. And I personally got really stuck in the moment. So if Bobby was crying or he didn't sleep really well for a few weeks or a few months, it really affected me mentally, and I got really stuck in that moment. And I think that's why I did try and start that meditation course as well. I started that maybe when he was 6 months old, to try and give myself a bit more of a energize, like to try and catch up on all this tiredness that I was feeling with just being a mum. I think that's really important to find time for you, like even if it's a massage every 2 weeks, just to release and just like let go. Spending time in nature is massive, I think, to help with your mental, making sure you like walking and just getting outside of the house. Mind you, this was also during COVID in Melbourne, so it was hard as well. But I think even moving forward, having people to talk through things with, so whether that's like a psychologist or a therapist or a healer of some sort, to get you through those tough times or those times where you feel weak. And yeah,
I think as well what you're trying to say too is that just get help, like actually put your hand up, like don't just sit in it. Like there are so many people that want to help and can support you and will do it without you even, like, because a lot of people don't support other mothers because they're scared that the person's going to say no. I think when you're open to receiving help, it makes such a difference. And I'm going to share my little thing, which I think you will agree with as well. So one of the things that made me, because we both have moved away from our family, you should have moved to Noosa, but you moved to Pottsville, which is in the middle of Byron and Tweed Heads. But you had to go on your lesson as well. It's the same. We just had to it felt like we had to grow up a little bit, you know. But what's good is that you've got still some help around you as well, which is really epic. But I remember moving up here and being like, hang on, I'm just not going to feel guilty anymore about putting Leo in this. I found this little family daycare. I was like, I don't love playing baby toys. Like I don't love sitting on the mat and playing toys. Like I love being with my baby. I adore him, but I actually love doing business. And when I see my son, like I'm going to be frustrated and feeling anxious because I'm not working on my business. So someone has dedicated their entire career to working with children. How about I give the person that loves working with kids, playing those things, cutting, painting, making messes with children, I will let them give them their loving, fun energy. And then when I have then filled my cup up with everything I want to do, I will be so much happier. And that change and that perspective change helped me so much. Like it was like, hang on, there are people that they love this so much that they've dedicated their entire life to doing this work. Why am I even feeling guilty? I think it's probably giving my son a disservice being home with me while I am trying to work and not being present.
Yeah, that's a massive one. Like, and I think I've had to put my son in care 4 days, or we decided to put him in 4 days as we've moved up and don't have the help with our parents and in-laws. But I think that was hard to put him in 4 days. That was really challenging. But I just look at it and say, like, this is my passion too, and it would be doing him a disservice because I may not be present with him. And that was my major thing. If I'm going to put him in for 4 days, then I need to be present with him. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be doing other things. I want to really try hard to be there for him when I'm with him. And I think that he will get a lot more out of that than me on my laptop while he's watching TV or, things like that.
100%. I love this, Natalie. You have done so amazing. You probably inspired you have inspired so many people through your story. So 2 more questions. Number 1, what are the next styles coming into, knowing that you're a fashion designer, you're coming in with the next kind of who's who in, fitness wear. What are the styles coming into, winter this season? What are the colours? What are we looking to wear? And also with your collection. So obviously you can talk about your collection, but in general, what's the whole vibe of this winter coming into summer?
Yeah, we are really focused on, or we call it a caring economy, which is something that we're inspired by basically moving away from the overstimulating activities and getting out into nature and just connecting back in with those natural elements. And also, like, not being too hard on yourself, finding ways to bring in self-love, whether that's through yoga, Pilates, walking, whatever it is, being gentle with yourself. That's sort of the concept behind where we went. But for the colours and styles, we've got some really cool stuff coming up. Our yoga collections have gone absolutely nuts. So we've honed in and created a few more styles to add to the collection.
It is. Can I just interrupt? The yoga collection is unbelievably comfy. It's probably like I can't wait to have 50 of them. By the way, it was my birthday, Natalie, so I will be expecting a fucking huge parcel. The thing about Natalie is, as she said, she's stingy.
You come in and take things out of my office.
I know. I literally go to her house and she's like, "What are you wearing?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I just thought I'd try on that sample."
You definitely do that.
Yeah, but I'm seriously, I am waiting for that collection. Like,
I will send it to you in the mail.
You better.
But we're going with like really beautiful neutrals, but some navy, like we've got a navy, indigo, chocolate, dark chocolate browns, almost black chocolate, forest greens, taupes, chalk is a color word for you. We're going for some like very neutral colors inspired by nature, but the reason why we've gone down that avenue is I think people love to wear colors like that. I think
especially in winter.
Yeah, especially in winter. And we're so excited. We've got some really beautiful things, and we've just found or teamed up with a manufacturer who specializes in beautiful, sustainable fabrics such as organic cotton and hemp. We've got these gorgeous T-shirts coming out soon and some really, really cool bamboo terry flares.
Oh,
they're so
I've
nice.
Tried them on and they're so delicious.
They look amazing on Belinda.
Oh my gosh. I was like, because I have like Natalie and Nicole are both more petite than me. I've got like this freaking booty. I don't know where it's come from, but it's just arrived and it hasn't left. It just arrived and just never fucking left. And I'm like,
and it's
seriously,
great.
I do love it. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. We've got a lot in the works, but they're the colours you can look forward to.
That is incredible. So I must say another part of being successful, and I'm just going to say it because I think it's all about having friends with benefits, if you know what I'm saying. Now, I have a few friends that are, just meeting cool people. I'm like, all right, I am going to manifest some epic people in my life that I'm going to be able to live in luxury by just being their friends. And I didn't even have to manifest this one. You're blood related. So it's really lovely to have friends that you all benefit from. Like you benefit from my craziness and I benefit from your fashion, everything. So when I go to Natalie's house, she literally dresses me and I'm like, this is not me. Like, but okay, I'll go for it. I swear, like I came to stay at Natalie's house. We looked after her dog and they went to Fraser Island. I hardly brought any clothes. I just went onto the sample.
Did you really?
Collection. No, I didn't.
Did you just wear all my clothes when you were here?
I actually tried on a lot of them, and I'm like, this just doesn't suit me. Nah.
That's so funny.
But I think you really, really, really have supported so many people by sharing your story, Nat. And you did delve a little bit into the fact that you have suffered with anxiety along the way as well. And these tips that you did share, I think, are really going to be beneficial for people. But I think the biggest thing that has helped you is just saying, I actually need help and going for it. There's no point in suffering and staying in that lingering land. So what is probably, I got one more after this, but what is something that you've learned from your anxiety, and if someone is suffering from anxiety, what can they learn from it?
I think postnatal anxiety, get your hormones checked. Like, actually go to a naturopath and get your hormones checked if you are suffering with anxiety or depression, because in something that's just happened recently, my hormones were completely out of balance, and that was causing severe anxiety and panic attacks. And after getting on to some supplements such as iron and B vitamins and progesterone cream, which obviously you need to see a health care professional to see what you may need. But I was low in all of those things, and it literally took like 1.5 months, if that, to make me feel back to normal again after being on these supplements. And I said to my naturopath, like, this is just wild that this has been such a fast turnaround, and all it was, I just needed some nutrients in my system to help me get back on track. So if you're dealing with anything like that, I would definitely get your hormones checked, but also doing things like making time for yourself and doing things that feel good for you. And movement is massive. Like, I really found Kundalini yoga at the time when I was feeling at my most anxious, and that actually physically and mentally releases the energy stored up and releases that anxious energy. So just finding things that make you feel incredible, even if it's like saunas are amazing as well. At that, walking helps adjust your nervous system. Like, it's like one of the main things. So doing things that are gentle and kind and loving and taking time for you is the biggest thing, I would say.
They're very good insights. So take notes, ladies. And sometimes with this podcast, there's been so many good bloody gems, like next level gems. So I would recommend you listen to it again and pause and take notes of where Nat has really given you some absolute insight. So my final question is, if you were to start from the very beginning, what would you have done differently?
That is a good one. I think I would say to myself, it's going to be okay. You are going to get through this. I would make sure that I have a lot more. I would work on my self-worth from day one and make sure that that is something that is very, very active in the whole business development process. I would probably get a mentor way faster, because I think it was like 3 years in that I got my first mentor, and they they help you so much because they'll give you deliverables and things you need to achieve. So that I would back myself and just know that it's going to work out, it's going to be okay. And
awesome. I love it. I love it. So I just want to thank you for taking the time. This has been so fun. I've learned so much about you as well. I'm going to listen to those books as well. I will put those in the show notes as well. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and spending your afternoon with us. I know I had to share your story, even though you're my sister. You are one of the most inspiring people that I know, and I'm so glad that I get you in my corner for the rest of my life. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Belinda Carusi Show. If you love this episode as much as I did, head over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week on Fridays. I can't wait to hang out with you again.